The trading post of Nexus 9 hung in the void like a tarnished coin, spinning slowly at the edge of charted space. Inside its grimy docking bay, Iliara kept her gaze fixed on the metal grating beneath her feet. The scales along her spine, once a proud iridescent blue that marked her as a warrior of the Savarian elite, had dulled to a sickly gray during her years in captivity. 10 credits, do I hear? 15 for this Savarian female, the auctioneer, a bulbous Crexian with mottled skin, yanked on the energy tether binding Iliara's wrists. Healthy specimen, good for labor, companionship, or parts, whatever pleases you. The crowd of traders, smugglers, and travelers barely glanced her way. The Savarian Empire had fallen 5 years ago, their warrior culture crushed by the hegemony. Now her people were scattered, refugees at best, property at worst. 10 credits once, 10 twice. The auctioneer's voice carried a note of disappointment. Even for this backwater outpost, 10 credits was insulting, barely enough to buy a decent meal. Sold, to the human in the back. Iliara's head remained bowed as she was handed over to her new owner. From the corner of her eye, she caught sight of worn boots and old-stained cargo pants, a human male, medium build. Her jaw tightened, preparing for the first blow or harsh command. It never came. Follow me, please, was all he said, his voice quiet but clear. They walked in silence through the warren of corridors that made up Nexus 9, past vendors hawking contraband and mercenaries lounging against bulkheads. The human didn't pull on her tether or check if she followed. Iliara could have attempted escape, but where would she go? An alien with slave markings wouldn't get far. They arrived at a small workshop tucked away in a lower level. The sign above the door read Mason's Repairs in 3 different languages. Inside, the air smelled of engine grease and hot metal, but it was surprisingly tidy, with tools arranged in precise order on wall-mounted racks. The human mason, she presumed, turned to face her. He was younger than she'd expected, perhaps in his early 30s by human reckoning, with sandy hair that fell across one eye and a serious expression that wasn't quite a frown. I'm Mason Adler, he said, taking a small device from his pocket. With a soft click, the energy tether around her wrists dissipated. Iliara stared at her freed hands, then at the human, confusion warring with ingrained caution. Was this a test, a trick to justify punishment? I don't believe in slavery, Mason said simply. You're free to go if you want, or, he gestured to the workshop, you can stay and work with me, not for me, with me. I could use help and you'd get fair pay, your own quarters and food. Iliara's violet eyes narrowed. Why buy me then? Because I could, he said with a small shrug. 10 credits to give someone their freedom seemed like a good deal. Her throat tightened with an unfamiliar emotion. And if I stay, what do you require of me? Understanding flickered across Mason's face. Nothing like that, just help with repairs, you'll learn the trade, no chains, no debts. He moved past her to storage unit, giving her space. There are clothes in here that might fit, bathrooms through that door if you want to clean up. When you're ready, let me know what you want to do. Mason turned to a workbench and began disassembling a small engine component, acting as if purchasing and freeing an alien slave was an everyday occurrence. Iliara stood frozen, the weight of choice, something long denied to her, suddenly overwhelming. In her world, kindness was always a mask for cruelty, yet something in the human's straightforward manner sparked a feeling she'd thought long dead. Hope. 2 weeks had passed since Iliara chose to stay at Mason's repair shop. She slept poorly, expecting him to reveal his true nature at any moment. Each morning she rose before him, prepared for the day, and stood at attention until he emerged from his quarters. You don't have to do that, Mason said on the 15th morning, rubbing sleep from his eyes. This isn't a military operation. A Savarian rises with purpose, she replied stiffly, reciting an old maxim. Mason merely nodded, respecting her ways without challenging them. There's a damaged navigation array coming in today. Thought you might want to learn how they work. The days fell into a rhythm. Mason never raised his voice or his hand. He spoke to her as an equal, explaining complex repairs with patience, asking for her input, even deferring to her when her keen eyesight spotted issues he missed. Hand me the pulse calibrator, Mason asked one afternoon, his upper body buried in the guts of a merchant vessel's engine. Iliara hesitated. On her former owner's ship, she'd once handed the wrong tool to an engineer. The beating had left scars across her back that still puckered her scales. The one with the blue handle, Mason clarified, mistaking her hesitation for confusion. She passed it to him, their fingers brushing momentarily. Mason didn't seem to notice, but Iliara flinched. That night the nightmare came again. The slave pens, the shock collars, the sound of scales being torn. Iliara woke gasping, claws extended defensively. A soft knock at her door. Iliara, are you all right? She froze. Yes, Mason. A pause. I heard. It sounded like you were in trouble. Just a dream. Do you want to talk about it? His voice held no demand, only concern. You know, okay, I'm making tea if you change your mind. She found him in the small kitchen area heating water on a portable burner. He didn't look up when she entered, giving her the choice to retreat or approach. Iliara sat across from him. Why do you care what happens to me? Mason considered this. Everyone deserves kindness, even if they've forgotten how to receive it. My people were warriors, she said suddenly. Before we were conquered, we protected weaker species from exploitation. Then now we are the exploited. Her claws scraped lightly against the table. Why did you really buy me? Mason slid a cup of tea toward her. My father was a trader. He owned slaves. I saw how he treated them. When I was 12, there was a Savarian like you who tried to escape. What my father did to him, he shook his head. I promised myself I'd never be like that, and if I could ever help, I would. Iliara wrapped her scaled fingers around the warm cup. Help comes with a price. Not this time, Mason said, not with me. That night, Iliara slept without nightmares for the first time in years. By the second month, Iliara's scales had begun regaining their luster. The proud blue shimmer returned as her body healed from years of malnutrition and stress. She learned quickly, her Savarian memory allowing her to memorize complex repair protocols after a single demonstration. You're a natural, Mason commented as she reassembled a quantum stabilizer in record time. A strange warmth spread through her chest at his praise. My people were not only warriors but builders. We constructed ships that could traverse the void between galaxies. I'd like to see those someday, Mason said, wiping grease from his hands. They are all gone now, Iliara replied quietly. An emergency call came in that afternoon, a medical transport with failing life support. As they worked frantically inside the engine core, Mason leaned too far over an exposed power coupling. Iliara's reflexes were faster than human. She yanked him back just as the coupling sparked violently. They tumbled backward, Mason landing against her chest, her arms wrapped protectively around him. For a moment, neither moved. Iliara became acutely aware of his heartbeat, his warmth, the clean scent of his skin beneath the engine oil. You saved me, he said, looking up at her with something new in his eyes. She helped him up, confused by her body's reaction. Savarians weren't supposed to find humans attractive, yet her pulse raced traitorously. That evening they sat on the repair shop's small observation deck, the vast starscape spread before them. What was your home like? Mason asked softly. Iliara rarely spoke of Savar, but tonight the words came easily. She told him of crystal cities that caught starlight and transformed it into energy, of coming-of-age ceremonies where young warriors proved their worth through acts of creation rather than destruction. What about your family? She asked in return. Mason's expression darkened. After my mother died, my father became cruel. I left as soon as I could, worked odd jobs on freighters until I saved enough for this shop. Without thinking, Iliara reached out, her scaled hand covering his human one. Mason looked up, surprised but not pulling away. We have both known loss, she said. Under the stars, something unspoken passed between them, a bridge across the void of their different worlds. The warning came from the station's security feed. A hegemony cruiser had docked at Nexus 9. Mason was off station, gathering rare parts from a salvage dealer 2 sectors away. Iliara recognized the ship immediately. The vengeful claim, captained by Darius Vel, the man who had captured her during the fall of Savar and kept her as exotic cargo for 3 years before selling her at Nexus 9. She locked the shop doors but knew it wouldn't matter. Vel would have forged documents of ownership, perhaps claiming she was stolen property. They came during the artificial night cycle, Vel and 4 mercenaries, breaking through the shop's outer door with practiced efficiency. There's my beautiful blue merchandise, Vel drawled, his cybernetic eye glowing in the dimness. Did you truly believe I'd sell a purebred Savarian warrior for 10 credits without a plan? Iliara backed toward the workbench. I am no one's property. Vel laughed. The hegemony says otherwise. Your entire species is classified as war assets. Your human friend committed theft of military property. He freed me legally. He bought stolen goods, Vel countered, unholstering a neural disruptor. No hard feelings, precious, just business. As he aimed, Iliara's hand closed around a plasma torch. The warrior knowledge she'd suppressed for years flooded back, angles, vulnerabilities, timing. The torch flared to life as she ducked under the disruptor beam. Her first strike seared through the nearest mercenary's armor. Her second disabled Vel's weapon. You've forgotten what Savarians are, she hissed, falling into a combat stance her body remembered even if her mind had tried to forget. The fight was brutal but brief. Iliara used the shop itself as a weapon, electrifying metal floors, releasing coolant gases, wielding repair tools with deadly precision. When Mason returned, he found 3 unconscious mercenaries, a pool of blood where the fourth had dragged himself away, and Vel pinned against the wall by a jagged piece of metal through his shoulder. Iliara, Mason called into the darkened shop. She emerged from the shadows, scales gleaming with exertion, eyes fierce yet haunted. I did not kill them. Mason surveyed the scene, then looked back at her with something like awe. I never doubted you. Vel spat blood. This isn't over, the hegemony. Can take it up with station security, Mason interrupted, activating his comm unit. I've got her purchase documents and freedom contract properly filed. You've got breaking and entering, assault, and attempted kidnapping. As security arrived, Vel's parting words chilled them both. I'll be back and not alone. He wasn't lying, Mason said grimly as they assessed the damage to the shop. Vel has connections in the hegemony. They'll come with more men and better weapons. Iliara nodded, her warrior instincts fully awakened. Then we prepare. For 3 days, they transformed the repair shop into a fortress. Mason's engineering genius combined with Iliara's tactical knowledge created a defense system that would make even a military squad hesitate. As they worked side by side, the unspoken tension between them grew until it became a tangible presence. If this fails, Mason began on the third night. It will not, Iliara interrupted, then softer, but if it does, I want no regrets. She stepped closer, her scaled fingers tracing his jawline with surprising gentleness. My people believe warriors should face death having known life fully. Mason's hand covered hers. Is that what I am to you, a life experience before battle? No, she whispered. You are the one who saw me when I was invisible, who valued me when I was deemed worthless. When their lips met, it was neither human nor Savarian, but something new, a bridge between worlds. Their bodies, so different in texture and form, found harmony in the universal language of desire and connection. Afterward, lying in the quiet darkness, Mason asked, will you leave when this is over? Iliara traced patterns on his chest. Where would I go? Anywhere, everywhere, his fingers intertwined with hers, with me if you wanted. The attack came at dawn, Vel with 15 mercenaries and hegemony-grade weapons. They expected resistance but not the intricate trap that awaited them. Automated repair drones reprogrammed for defense swarmed like insects. Magnetic fields disabled their weapons. Maintenance tunnels became choke points. At the center of it all fought Mason and Iliara, back to back, he with improvised tech weapons, she with the fluid grace of her warrior ancestors. When it ended, Vel lay defeated at Iliara's feet. This time, station security arrived with hegemony officials, ones Mason had contacted through old shipping connections, who were investigating corruption in their own ranks. Vel's been selling military assets for personal profit, the official explained. He won't trouble you again. As the security team cleared the last of the attackers, Mason and Iliara stood amid the wreckage of the shop. We'll need to rebuild, Mason observed. Yes, Iliara agreed, surveying the damage, but not here. She looked up at the stars visible through the damaged ceiling. You once said you wanted to see ships that could cross galaxies. I did. There are Savarian outposts beyond hegemony space, places where our knowledge is preserved. Her eyes met his. We could go together, your skill, my heritage, we could build something new. Mason smiled, taking her hand, a warrior and an engineer. Partners, Iliara said, the word no longer foreign on her tongue. As they prepared their ship for departure, Iliara placed 10 credits on the counter of the now empty shop, a reminder of where they began but not where they would end.